All right. Well, hey, I'm Ellen.
And I'm Eric.
And this is I Love That. And this is a podcast for our son Jack, who is 21 years old, only child. And we're going through a box of cards from Tails.com. And it's called Life Story Interview Kit. And there's 150 questions, and we are going to answer all of them.
Yep.
That's our goal. So we're doing a few of these a week. I don't know when exactly we're going to publish them, but that's okay. We're getting them done.
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. So all of our social medias are ilovethat.jackscrib.com or without the .com. TikTok is I Love That Jack's Crib. It's all one word. The Jack's Crib is our son Jack, his personal website that we built after he was born to show all of Eric's family and other people in our lives how Jack was doing every day, every other day, since he was such a baby preemie. He was a tiny preemie. He was 27 weeks. So we built that website, and we wanted I Love That, and it was taken from most of everything. So we tacked on Jack's Crib. So our email address is ilovethat@jackscrib.com. So you can find us on everything else that way. I love that. Okay. All right. So yeah. Do you want to talk about anything? Or are we good?
I'm good. Do you?
No, I don't know. I wonder if people like to hear us chatter or not.
Oh.
I mean, I have a good no.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
Let's get started and we'll see where it goes.
Alrighty.
What were your grandparents like?
Well, what were your grandparents like? Well, I only had one grandparent that I knew. My mom's mom, Irene Marie Gilliland. She was born, I don't know what day it was. I can't find it anywhere, but it was in 1903. I'm sorry. Yeah, 1903.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy, right? It seems so long ago, but
I know, over 100 years, 120 years.
Well, yeah. Well, she died in 1980. I don't know. It's like all blurred to me now. I think it was in 1989 she died. But what was she like? She was amazing for me. I was the youngest grandchild, the youngest of 7. And for I don't know how many years of my life, she lived in the back house, in the house in our backyard. So, I mean, it was like basically living with her because I could go over there and, tap dance in her kitchen and watch Lawrence Welk and all that. And she was so good to me. She took me to all my stuff like swimming lessons and whatever other stuff that I did. But yeah, she was awesome. And then later on, after my mom and her and my dad Dave had a big fight, and we weren't allowed to see her. When I got kicked out of the house when I was 17 by my mom for just being a bad teenager, I went straight to her. In fact, that's where John went too when he was kicked out at 17 by my mom. It's kind of a pattern. So she just couldn't handle us. And I went to go live with my grandma. And unfortunately, I was 17. And unfortunately, about, I want to say, a few weeks into me living there, she got hit by a car. She was walking. She always walked every day. She walked to Chuck's cafe down on the beach, right next to by the Olympic pool, where the Olympic pool is gone now, I guess. But right there, she would walk to Chuck's every day and sit in her booth and have her food. And she was trying to cross 2nd Street when it turns into Ocean,
Mm-hmm.
and she got hit by a car and busted up her hip. So she was in the hospital for a while, which was fine with me, because then I had a whole house to myself. And then when she came home, she was in a hospital bed in her front room, and I still lived there. And an aide woman came there every day to help, do everything for my grandma. And yeah, she was mean and she stole. So she said I locked the door when I didn't. I was totally asleep, and she goes banging on the door, and I go answer the door, and she's like, why did you lock us out? She was this like mean ass black lady who just fucking hated me. She just hated me for living there because I was freeloading, total freeloader.
Sure.
It's my grandma.
It's not her choice, though, really.
Exactly. So grandma ended up going into a home when she was in her 80s, because that car that hit her, that kind of knocked like Alzheimer's loose, and she just went full Alzheimer's. But when she was alive, and she actually worked at my high school, not when I was going there, but she was a special ed teacher at my high school, at Warren High School in Downey, for years and years. Yeah. Weird, right? In fact, also weird, my Aunt Jean, my oldest aunt, she was the school nurse at my high school, at Warren High School in Downey, before I was there.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Isn't that bizarre? Huh. So anyway, but then later on, after my grandma did special ed with children, she moved on to teaching special ed to adults. So that was what she did for her entire life.
Wow.
Yeah. After she lost her husband in 1946, and that was when my mom was like 5, and she immediately moved to California, where she already had other, we had other family there.
Stuff, yeah.
So she moved to California with 4 daughters, and her brother, Uncle Art, or my great Uncle Art, helped her move, and that's how we got to California. Was when my mom was 5, and then they lived there in Huntington Park, and until my mom got married to my dad and had us. So, but from what I know of what she did, she was retired by the time I really got to know her like that, because I was the youngest. Like I said, I'd stay there a lot, and she'd sew all my clothes. In fact, I have this great notebook here that my grandma put together, that she wrote. I can barely read, about her life, and she used to make patterns for Vogue patterns. I don't know if she would do the patterns. Like, she would make the patterns and then show, her supervisor to see if it was a good pattern or not. So that's what she did. In the early days, from what I understand in this book that she wrote. And so, yeah, when I was a younger kid, she used to make like culottes. Remember culottes? Yep. Those big, they were like shorty pants, but they had big flared out right after the knee. Yeah, they were hugely popular in the 70s. And I had many pairs because my grandmother made them for me. So, but yeah, she was really awesome to us as grandchildren. She was to me and John, her favorite. And when she died, she left her estate to all of us, her 7 grandkids, to be split equally. She didn't leave anything to her 4 daughters because she was mean like that. She just did not like her kids. She loved her grandkids. She did not like her kids. And it said in the will that if any of them contested, that they would get $1. So that's how spiteful. Wow. She was very spiteful too. I never saw the spiteful side. So it's hard to imagine her like that, but I mean, obviously it was. So, and, like I said, I lost my grandpa before I was even born. He was born in 1900.
Yeah.
John Gilliland, John Morris Gilliland. And I think he died of lung cancer, maybe prostate cancer. Not sure on that even. I'm sure I can ask Martha. I'm sure she knows more about this than I do. And then John Rapley, my dad's parents, he was an only child and he was adopted. And I never spent any time with his parents. I don't even really know anything about them. I don't know their names or anything. And Dave's parents, Dave Kirby's parents, I spent a little bit of time with them, but they were super old. And so they were like not fun
Sure.
to hang out with,
Right,
we didn't do a whole heck of a lot.
Watching the Golf Channel.
Yeah, we played croquet.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
That's cool.
Yeah, but that was pretty much it. So, Golf Channel. This is the 70s, honey.
Yeah.
They're not a Golf Channel.
My aunt and uncle always had golf on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was definitely wide world of sports on.
Yeah.
So, possibly. But, I mean, I really don't remember them either. So, my Grammy, Irene Gilliland, is the only grandparent I have that I can talk about. So, that was her. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, what about you? How many grandparents do you have to talk about?
Well, my dad's parents passed away when I was just born, like under 1 year old. And they both went relatively together. I mean, soon.
Like, yeah, a lot of
within a
people
year,
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
So,
older people do that.
so I've seen pictures. I know, I
Right.
know them from pictures and stories.
Right.
But that's about it. I don't know what Grandpa did.
Right.
And Grandma was a nurse. And she was a nurse in Harlan, Iowa. And yeah, for years and years and years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she was a nurse. And she worked for one of the doctors up there, and I cannot remember his name, but
well, I mean,
that's what she did.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. And then my mom's mom and dad, they are from Oklahoma. Where? Let's see. My grandma, I don't know when she was born. Grandpa, I want to say was 1903.
Wow.
I think. But had to be right around there.
Right.
Because
our parents and grandparents are the same age-ish.
Right. So Grandma was a stay-at-home mom. She was an awesome grandma. Grandpa worked for Safeway, I guess Kroger's now.
Yeah, Kroger's.
And he was a dispatcher, so he went down into where all the trucks are on South 72nd, just I want to say just north of L.
Right.
But that's what he did. He made trucks go in and out, and made sure they were on time and going where they needed to go.
That's cool.
Yeah, and he did that for since they were in Omaha, I believe. I think he started out as a trucker and then transferred to a dispatch. But Grandpa was fun. He was, looking back, I think he was an alcoholic. But he was a fun drunk.
Yeah.
So he was always goofing around and putting a hat on backwards or some weird stuff like that.
Right.
Just being weird.
Yeah.
And
how old were you?
He was awesome. Gosh. He died when I was in 3rd grade.
Oh, so you were still really young.
8, 9.
Probably 9, okay.
About 9.
Sure.
Grandma died when I was in 1st grade.
Okay.
So I was 7. So I got 7 really good years. Aaron got screwed out of
all
grandparents.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But Grandma, because she was awesome. She was an amazing cook. Although, I mean, I remember her grounding up her own meat to make hamburger.
Right.
And like ham salad.
I remember that too. Like that. I remember my grandma had a clamp on iron
Yeah.
Meat grinder.
Meat grinder, yeah.
And she used it. We made chicken salad with it.
Yep.
All sorts of stuff. That's crazy.
Huh.
Huh.
Yeah, it's people in depression, man. They came through depression.
Yeah, I was reading about my grandma had now 4 kids when the depression, or close to 4 kids when the depression hit. And it was like, shit, just another mouth to feed.
Washing tinfoil off so you could use it again.
Oh my gosh. My grandmother, when she died, she had a drawer full of the old style 1970s aluminum.
Okay.
The actual tray
that
you get from the TV tray.
Yeah.
The TV dinners.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, she washed all those out, and she kept all those.
Oh wow.
And the foil that went over them, the whole depression.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what they did.
Grandpa had money. I don't think literally in a mattress, but
right.
He had money in the house.
Right.
And yeah, they were just resourceful people, man. They
had to be.
Had to be, yeah. But no, Grandma, I remember her taking me to the circus, and that was pretty cool.
Wow, I bet.
And then
in Omaha?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. And I remember, gosh, I just remember, she was a really good cook. So I remember big meals like Thanksgiving and stuff.
Right.
But I think me and Grandpa survived on bread and gravy.
Oh, yeah.
For years. That was the go-to.
Oh, my gosh.
The go-to meal my grandpa would have. Bread with gravy poured over the top.
That's why they died so young.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They drank coffee by the gallons. They smoked, and they ate bread and gravy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds delicious right now.
It does. Brown gravy. Huh. But, yeah, that's what she would cook. I remember, and boiled eggs. We would boil eggs and have them.
Hard-boiled?
Yeah. Hard-boiled eggs. And I remember soft-boiled eggs. She had a timer, and you put water in it to the certain however you wanted them done, and then you pour it in, and lid goes on it, and it looked like a little UFO.
Oh, it's a little egg cooker.
Yeah, there was a needle in the middle. You had to put a hole in there so it didn't explode. And then
that's crazy.
Soft-boiled eggs. Oh, so good with toast.
I'll bet.
And I remember my aunt being there too when I was really young. I remember her. I remember us trying Pepsi and Coke, Pepsi and milk, because Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah, oh my god!
My aunt was like, "I wonder what that tastes like." And Grandma made one
milk
for us.
And Pepsi,
and it wasn't bad. It just tasted like an old flat
Pepsi float. Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, Grandma and Grandpa on my mom's side were super saving stuff. What is that word I'm looking for?
Like
resourceful, because they grew up in Oklahoma on the reservation. So
yeah, what reservation was it?
The Kaw Reservation down in Oklahoma.
Okay,
and
that's good for Jack to know.
Yeah, yeah, it's where his people come from. Although only 4%, so
that's what ancestry. 2%. That's what ancestry says. Yep. Your mom made it out like you were going to be definitely a quarter.
Oh yeah,
for sure, because you thought she was full blood.
She looks full blood.
Well, she's not. She was not.
Well, and a lot of that I'm sure was my grandpa, because my grandpa was adopted.
White.
Yeah, where he was blonde or red hair with blue eyes. So
that's where you get your red in your beard.
Very Irish, and yeah.
So he was not Indian.
No.
Native American.
We don't know. We think a little bit because he had some of the features,
Right.
But he was super tan.
But he was pretty white though. He had blue eyes.
But he had red hair and blue eyes.
Oh well, so, I mean, you're not, unless that's some sort of a recessive gene that weirdly came out.
But so we don't know, because
that's weird how many people we have adopted in our families.
I know.
Crazy.
So that's where probably all the North European
why you have blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yep. And like usual, wiped out the Indian.
Wiped them out. I know. I'm sorry.
So, but that's my grandparents.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I forgot to say that my grandma lived in. She was born in Connecticut, in Stamford. No, not Stamford. That's where my grandpa was born. She was born in Wolcott, Connecticut. So, and her last name was Irene Marie Cook, Cooke, but they changed it when they came over on Ellis through Ellis Island. When my great grandparents came over, it was Koch, Koch, and that was too. I don't know if it was too German or if it was too Jewish. So they changed the spelling and the pronunciation to Cook. I always think that's super interesting. But yeah. That they do that. That they did that. I mean, there's people who
a lot of people did that.
Yeah.
To Americanize their names.
Yeah, they didn't want to be associated with
Right.
European, depending on what time, what year you came over.
Right.
On the boats.
Well, yeah, because back then, when they came over, what, mid 1800s, late 1800s?
Probably. I have to get my little
your Irish were
down.
Looked down upon.
Yeah, right, exactly. We definitely had Irish and French.
Yeah, the Irish took it worse than, well,
back in the early 1900s.
Yeah,
they were just garbage.
Bottom of the barrel.
Right. Worse than black people.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that time, So now how prejudice have changed.
Yep.
Sadly. So
you want to sign off?
Yeah. So thanks for watching and thanks for listening, and we appreciate you very much supporting us.
Yep. So subscribe.
Subscribe, review, rate, all of the stuff that you do. You can find us on YouTube, Blue Sky, Facebook,
everything except Twitter, pretty much.
Insta. Yeah. And our email address is ilovethat@jackscrib.com. So if you want to email, and we want to thank Tails.com for these amazing questions that we're going through. I'm always like, feel like I need to thank Karen and Georgia. I always do. I just feel like they're like our friends or something, because it feels so conversational, when we're listening to it. So thank you, Karen and Georgia, at My Favorite Murder, for inspiring us to do this. And we're so happy we finally are getting it off the ground.
Yeah.
Right. It's been a long time coming, but yeah, this has been super fun. I'm getting more comfortable. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll get there. Definitely. So, I guess that's it for this time. So until next time, this has been I love that. See you later.